2, 3, 4, 5. Two, 3, 4, 5.
There, getting there.
All right. Welcome, folks. Good evening. I'm Tom Beck, Chairman of the Kennebunkport Planning Board. This is a virtual planning board meeting. We're using Zoom conferencing format. Agenda is on the town's website and has the information needed to participate if you need to. If you wish to participate through Zoom, you can join the webinar 821-3842-6608. You can also dial in at area code 929-205-6099. You'll be asked to enter a meeting ID followed by the pound sign. As always, you can watch us on channel 1301 or stream us on YouTube, Kennebunkport television channel. During the meeting, the planning board and current participant are selected to be on screen with audio connected. All others will be blacked out and audio muted except when the board solicits public input. If a public hearing is on the agenda, as one is tonight, the applicant and board members will have discussions, after which I will open the public hearing. At that time, anyone who wishes to be heard could raise their hand on Zoom and we'll recognize them to talk one at a time. If you happen to be using telephone to connect, raise your hand is *6, toggle mute is *9. So, first order of business is to do attendance. And I will go through the list. I see I'm here. Nina is here. Okay, Scott? I don't see. Oh, there you are down there. Scott, you just called in, so you're
down there. Right.
Okay. Ed?
Here.
Larry?
Here.
And George?
Yes, here.
And John Harcourt is on an airplane somewhere, so he's not going to make it. So, first order of business is to approve the minutes of the last meeting. I believe Larry sent a couple of minor corrections to them, which we should all have seen also.
Yep, hope so.
Yeah,
So any problems? Yeah, I thought they were fine.
Okay. So shall I move to accept the minutes as amended?
Yes, please.
Second.
Okay. So I'm going to just call the roll again. So I'm in favor. Nina?
Approve.
Scott? Muted again.
It's too far. You can't shout.
Yeah, please unmute.
Oh, sorry. Yes, approved.
Okay, good. Ed?
Approved.
Larry?
Approve.
Okay, brings us to the first order of business, which is Sand Dollar Condominium, Sebago Techniques Authorized Agent, continued public hearing. So, I'd like to bring in Mr. Doe, please.
And, so Tom, just real quick before we get started, I did just want to take the opportunity to introduce you all to Eli Rubin, who is the town's new community planner. So he's joining us in the meeting tonight. We're excited to have Eli on board with us, and he'll be looking to be working with you all in the future. So,
Welcome, Eli.
Right, welcome.
Okay, and there, as it happens, is Steve Doe. So Steve.
There we go.
I guess we got additional information which has been provided, items that he still wanted. So Larry, why don't you talk to Steve?
Hi, Steve. Yes, I did have a couple of comments. Started writing the finding of fact. In fact, I did prepare a draft version, and as I was doing that, I did have a couple more questions and comments. So the first one, I just wanted to confirm that you've already received the Corps of Engineers okay for this riprap?
We did, yes.
Okay, but we're still waiting on DEP, right?
Right. I don't think we'll get that till January is what they were telling us. So
Okay.
That'll be a ways out.
But that can be in the finding of facts too.
Sure. Yeah, I've written it up that way. Okay. So just wanted to double check, just, make sure we're on the same page. So then I looked at the application and I'm not sure, did we get the updated application sheet with the resource protection X on there? I mean, it's not a big deal, but I would appreciate getting just, since we have time, if you could just.
Yeah, I don't think I did that. I could be wrong, but I don't think I did that.
Okay, if you could just do that. And then I had a question about the area. The lot width is 165 and the length or the depth is 155. So I multiplied those two numbers together. and divided by 43,560 and got 0.587 acres, and you're showing 0.68 acres. So could you reconcile the the possible discrepancy there?
Yes, I can check that. I think I may have gotten that from the town's records.
Well, that's kind of interesting because if the town records is 0.68 and the actual existing, dimensions come out to 0.587, then that implies there's been 1/10 of an acre eroded. I mean, maybe.
Well, yeah, I don't know how they deal with the river channel. Again, I'd have to look at it, but I'll let me look in that.
Okay.
The line may go out to the river channel.
Right.
Yeah, right. Okay. I got
Yeah.
you. Anyway, whatever number is the correct one, we appreciate you having it in there.
Okay.
And then we had deeds for all of the units except number 2. Did you have a chance to send that to us?
I believe I did send that.
Yes, you did.
It's in,
Okay.
it's in the version that April typed up
Yes,
had it in there.
I did see that. I just didn't see it, the deed itself. But it must be there somewhere.
I'm pretty sure I saw the deed come by after
Really?
Steve
Really?
put in another submission. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did receive an additional deed there.
Okay.
And then we also verified the book and pages the other
Okay.
day.
All right. Good deal. All right. And then that, thinking about the deeds, posed another question, which is, so the applicant has authorized Sebago to represent Sandar condominiums for this work, but is the applicant also authorized by the other owners in this regard, or what is the relationship in this matter between the applicant and all of the owners and Sebago? Is it sufficient to say that the applicant speaks? I mean, we take it for granted that the applicant speaks for all the owners, or do we have to get some kind of separate authorization from each other owner, or from only a majority of the owners? I mean, how's this going to work?
I don't know if you're asking me that or the board, but I know all the owners are in communication with Heather Moats. I don't know if she's out there. But I think she said she wasn't going to be able to make it at this time. But I know she has. Okay, yeah, maybe she can explain that better. But I know she's in communication with them all, and then she's kind of my liaison.
Okay.
Typically, we see that the applicant has a legal interest in the property. And that's what we're looking to do, is build that bridge between Heather and the owners of the property.
Yeah, exactly.
So are you looking for maybe a letter from Heather?
From the condo association. I guess.
Yeah, with all their signatures on it, something like that.
Maybe I would think the
Well, there may be
president
some.
of that association would probably represent the association, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there may be something that had been discussed in one of their meetings, one of their association meetings, that I could verify it. I do think it's important to note the improvements that are proposed on this property primarily affect the units that Heather owns.
Okay.
Okay, but of course then the question is do all the owners have to share in the cost, or is Heather going to have to pay the whole cost? I mean,
Well, that doesn't. Yeah, that's not really something
Not our
that
business.
that we dive into. But if the land, arguably if the land's held in a condo form of ownership, they all have an interest in the property. So it wouldn't hurt to have something that acknowledges that the association, or at least, the president of the association, acknowledges that, concurs with it. Yep.
Okay.
So, so that'd be great. Yeah. So if we could have some statement from the homeowners association that Heather is authorized to represent all of the entire association, that would be great.
Okay.
And
The
then
concurrence doesn't mean that everyone's going to pay for it, though. So it's just an approval.
approval of Heather's.
Okay. Looks like she's connecting to audio here. Ooh. Nope.
Yeah, we're just looking for confirmation that Heather is authorized to be the applicant that has hired Sebago to represent Sand Dollar Condominiums in this matter. And then I did have one other question on the riprap itself. I mean, I appreciate you, Stephen, taking a look at it and coming up with that D50 rock size of 15 inches. And looks great. I appreciate that. And the only question I had was, so my perception is that the thickness of the riprap blanket should be twice the D50 rock size, which would imply that the thickness of the riprap should be 30 inches instead of the 28 or whatever it is. So, but that's just my perception. So I'm just asking you to double check. I mean, I don't know what the standards are around here, but
Yep.
it seemed a bit thin to me.
Okay.
That's all.
Yep. All right. That was, I didn't do the work. I had two engineers on it, and they said it was a real geek exercise, and they really enjoyed it, actually. So
Yeah, good one.
they learned a lot. on
Okay,
some of
great.
this,
Okay. Okay,
So
good.
thank you, Larry.
Okay, anytime.
Yep.
So I think that's it. That's all I got.
Okay. So I guess, Steve, we'll need those final tidbits so that he can complete the finding of facts and we can read it next time.
Yep.
So beyond that, I guess I need to reopen the public hearing. So if anyone out there has a hand raised. David, is anybody raising a hand? Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing, and I will entertain a motion to approve if,
So
based on the additional data being provided to Larry.
okay, I move to
Okay with
approve
you,
the
Larry?
application subject to receipt of the information that we've requested.
I'll second that.
Okay, so I'm going to go through the names. I'm in favor. Nina
I'm in favor.
just said she's in favor. Okay. Scott? In favor. Ed?
Yes, in favor.
Larry?
In favor?
Okay, so we will have you'll get the information as quick as you can to Larry, and we'll get a finding of facts updated and ready to go for the next meeting.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, the next subject is item 210405 Ocean Woods, and we need to bring in addition to Steve, we need to bring in Ralph. So I don't know if you have anybody beyond Ralph coming for tonight.
There may be, but I think just Ralph and I can probably handle most of the questions. So
Okay, good. Thank you. All right. Now, on 12 October, you guys sent us basically a whole new idea it's kind of almost a sketch plan kind of thing, which recognizes that the input from the town attorney. And I guess what we'd like to do here is to have a brief discussion of it. But ultimately, it seems this is a whole new application. So, and I see Ralph just nodded his head also. So ultimately, what we'll need to do relative to the one we just announced is that we're on the hook for a continued public hearing, but ultimately this plan that you've submitted needs to be part of need to basically put a cover page on it that says site plan application or modification, whatever the modification of a site plan application, and then at a later time we can as soon as we can have a big discussion of the whole thing, we can bring Amy in and do it right. For now, I guess we'll certainly would I'm stealing your thunder. If you guys would like to hear a little bit of talk about it, I think since this is a public hearing, we probably need to just open the public hearing briefly to, this has been out on the website for a week. So it's fresh news. I don't want to hear, discussions of the old plan if we open up the public hearing. But the idea generally is that we will, during this meeting, we will close the public hearing finally, and you guys will resubmit a new plan. So I guess I'd like to hear from Ralph, who's raising a finger there. Yes.
Thank you. And Warner, please chime in if you disagree with any of this, but we thought that the board tonight would first cancel the public hearing, because the public hearing would be on the existing application, which we're not moving forward with. And what we submitted in sort of a sketch plan or a concept phase for the board to look at really shouldn't be subject to any substantive review or public hearing, because one, there's no formal application for it. And two, I think Warner would agree, it's not to the point where the board should have a substantive discussion to give us any type of vested rights, again, because we haven't filed anything in that regard. I spoke to Amy Chow about this. I think Warner did as well, to see her opinion of what we were proposing. And she rightly said that she can't answer questions that I asked. She can only answer questions from the board. And I understand and respect that. She suggested that we file this as a concept plan so that the board can see what it is that we're proposing. And then she would be available at the next meeting to answer questions that the board has, to give us some guidance whether we can go ahead with even what we proposed or we need to make some further changes before we submit a formal application. So I don't know, Warner, is that?
Yeah, so, it's really what to do with the public hearing is up to the board. It's the purview of the board here. And, right now we still have an open public hearing, and so I think, I'd be interested in hearing, how the board feels about, any discussion regarding this. I don't think any discussion really prejudices, this at this point, but because it is a concept, it is a concept plan. I think Ralph brings up a valid point about this isn't a public hearing on the concept plan. It's a public hearing on the what I'll call the original submitted plan. So in that regard, leave that to the board to decide whether or not you want to take any public comment on the, this is going to just sounds awkward, but on the previously submitted plan, because that's what the public hearing is for. So be interested in hearing some thoughts on that. But ultimately, it's the board's call.
There's some subject matter that transacts between that, covers both the old plan and the new plan. Some questions that Amy brought up, and that's in regard to use and also in regard to grandfathering. And I'm not sure whether we should address them tonight. I think that the public, having looked at both plans, could address them if you open the public hearing. Amy's letter has been out there as well, and Ralph's response to it. But I can ask questions about those issues, either on the old plan or the new plan. It might be better to do it on the new plan, since it's basically reduce the area of use. But, I don't know where to go from here.
Can I ask a question to clarify? Has the application that we were going to have a public hearing on been withdrawn?
Not at this point, no. But it sounds like we need to.
Well, I'm just,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that would simplify this discussion. I don't know if there are financial considerations for withdrawing an application and putting in a new one. And obviously that's something the applicant, and Warden, you might have guidance on that, but you want to consider. I thought that this was going to be a major revision, and as such might be treated a little bit differently. But those again that's not within my realm of expertise. But it seems like to cancel the public meeting, it would be simple if we said that the previous one was withdrawn. It no longer exists. It doesn't make sense to waste the public's time or the applicant's time on that.
Yeah, we're getting our guidance from the code office,
Okay.
planning office, that because I wasn't sure myself whether it's a major revision or it's so different that it should be a new application. And although I don't think Warner and Amy came out and said it explicitly, I think the recommendation was a new application made sense.
So if you're doing that and you would just say here tonight that you are withdrawing it, I think that would, Tom, wouldn't that give us the answer on what to do with the public meeting?
Yeah, probably. It's kind of, I mean,
It would, but you've got the next meeting, you would be putting forth a new application. There would be no public hearing until the planning board meeting after that.
Right.
okay.
Well,
To clarify one thing here, if you walk in tomorrow, Steve, and stuff a front page on this saying application for change to site plan, basically replacing the old one with put a new cover. You covered the letter is fine, just a new planning board cover on it. Then the first time that can come to the public, to a meeting of the planning board, is November 17th. Because that October 14th was the deadline for the November 3rd meeting for a new plan. I was glad to actually get that calendar from April to tell us what's going on. But
I was understanding that they weren't ready to put, the applicant wasn't ready to call this a new application. They had a discussion that they wanted to have before they did that.
If they call it a new application, then they can, they would have to flesh it out after. They could flesh it out afterwards. We don't have to. It doesn't have to be a perfect document complete. It could be basically get the concept going, and
Mr.
then,
Chairman,
yes.
have we received a legal opinion based on the questions we asked of the town?
Yes, that's why.
On the existing.
Yeah.
Yes, we did, and basically that's the response. This is the response to that, because she basically said that it was too spread out, took up too much land.
So do we? How do we end a public hearing then that we are in the middle of?
We just
Well, if the application's withdrawn, you can end the public hearing.
You end it. If it's, do you continue with a suspension if we don't know if it's been withdrawn?
So
if we. Go ahead, Werner.
yeah, so procedurally, this application, so I believe this application is substantially different than what you have before you. So not only I think from an administrative process, but also just from a public process, it is cleaner to, if the applicant chooses to close this application, to withdraw and file a new application, with the board, because there are substantial changes to this. We've had the legal review done on a previous application. We've had stormwater review done on, or what I should say is the current application. So just procedurally, I think it's a cleaner cut to move into a new application piece. What I believe we have here with the sketch plan is, and this can happen in the context of a new application, that the applicant can come to the board, in Article 10.8B, it allows for the board to be able to have, that discussion with the board to obtain some feedback, which is what I believe this sketch plan would do. This opens the opportunity for the board to have that, discussion with the applicant. But I do think administratively, it likely makes sense, and based on what I'm hearing from you all tonight, in the context of a new application.
Sorry, go ahead.
And then at that point too, if the board decides, what you then have is that you have opportunity to look at the sketch. You have opportunity to look at the sketch plan. Board has opportunity to develop if you have any additional questions that you want to address to Amy, you can develop those questions. I can, I've had a discussion with Amy in terms of her availability, for future meetings. And so it sounds like generally she is available to be able to advise the board on, at some future meeting. But I think that's based on what I'm hearing from you all, that is what the path is with this. But I do think there needs to be a cut, kind of a clear distinction between, one application and the next one.
So it's really up to the applicant.
Yeah, I'm not
Decide what to do.
tonight to say that the reality is we're going to withdraw the existing application and submit a new one. I like to do that together at the same time, so I don't want to say that tonight. But personally, I don't see any use in having a public hearing on the prior plan, because we're not going forward with that.
Right.
And I don't see legally how you can hold a public hearing on something that we haven't applied for yet. This was just so the board could see what the concept, could close the public hearing on the existing application, see the concept, so you would be able to formulate some questions for the town attorney when she's at whatever the meeting is that she'll be at. Right. Hopefully that would be at if it can't be till the 17th, so be it. Hopefully she'd be at that meeting.
I'm sure that you love, Ralph, when someone says, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm not. But it seems that we could continue with a public hearing based on the legal opinion, that was offered, and people could comment on that now that we've got a legal opinion. But I agree with you. It doesn't make any sense if you're not going ahead with whatever was on that application. So I think it is up to the applicant.
It sounds to me like at a minimum, we need to take a time out. We've been given notice that there's consideration being given to withdrawing the application. That being said, it doesn't make sense to have the public hearing. It would be the perhaps easiest road to say we suspend the public hearing, given that notice, pending whether that becomes a reality. And that reality will depend on the discussion that the applicant has requested for tonight.
Yeah. And that the board has not had a chance to ask questions of the applicant. That's usually part of the procedure, right?
On what, George?
On the new plan, the revised plan, the
Which doesn't exist yet.
It hasn't been applied
doesn't
for.
exist yet.
Right. And if in fact we get a new plan, then we'll have to
We're going to want to ask questions.
and then the next meeting, the public would weigh in on it.
And no more site walk.
But if on the basis of the discussion,
No mosquitoes.
the basis of the discussion tonight, we back away and say, no, we really do want to continue with this plan as a minor or a major modification, then perhaps the public hearing, we say something different. But I think all the indications are we should at a minimum suspend it. And
I don't
possibly,
I don't like the word suspend. I think you need to close it because
Or you
you're
could
withdrawing
continue
the
it.
application.
You could continue it again, and
Continue
then
it.
when the form
Yeah.
of withdrawal comes in, cancel it.
yeah,
Because if
continue.
you close it, you've got 24 people who might want to make comment, and we would have been excluding the public from making that comment if we close the hearing.
Yeah, and
Well,
I think you only can close it, Nina, if they withdraw the application.
Right. Well, they're planning to withdraw the application, so you close the public hearing.
When they do it,
After
Well-
they've done it, I think we have to suspend it. If they close it tomorrow
or
morning,
continue it.
then it's moot, or continue it. But if we close it right now, then there are 24 people online who may want to make a comment based on
If we close it, there is they can do nothing further, and we will end up rejecting it.
And what if they don't withdraw the application, and then they continue with it? We've closed the public hearing on it.
That's why you don't close it.
That's why you don't
That's why
close
you
it.
don't close it.
If you
suspend it.
close the public hearing, okay, that's the end of it. We can come to a vote and vote no.
Let's not do that.
Yep, there is that. Let's
Not if
I'm
it's
with you, Ed.
withdrawn. Not if it's withdrawn before you finish the public hearing. The public hearing can be closed after the application is
So we can
withdrawn.
continue it.
Yeah.
So
Continue it.
if we were to continue it to the next meeting, and at the but actually next week, before the next meeting, they actually submit a withdrawal and a new application.
Yes.
Then on November 3rd, it would come up as a public hearing to the old one, and you'd close it. You'd close the public hearing because it's moot at that point.
Correct.
And then on November 17th, when it came up, you would have this thing to review as the starter for the continuing. And I mean, yeah, it's going to be November 17th. We talk about this guy in detail, as much detail as we can, with Amy there. And then I doubt that
hearing
it will
likely
be
in December.
completed it will not be to the state that we can call it complete. That will take another few meetings. And then ultimately the public is not going to see this as a public hearing probably until January, realistically.
Yeah, that's
correct,
fine.
Mr. Chairman.
That's fine, but I don't understand why you are suspending the public hearing, because the applicant is making putting forth the notion they are withdrawing the application, and they can do that verbally. Are you saying that they have to put it in writing?
No, Ralph has just told us he's not ready to withdraw the application tonight, Nina.
Okay. All right.
So
That's all.
so you continue it. We
Yeah.
can't close it. So you continue it.
Okay. Okay, but we're going to continue it and with the theory anyway that you guys are going to come up
Make a decision.
early next week and put something on the front of this that's a new application.
Yes. Makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Now, that was
we
the
have to
easy
have a
part,
motion to
right?
continue the hearing?
I'm sorry, what?
Do we have to have a motion to continue the hearing?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think so. We're going to do
Was that your motion, Joe?
continue the
How about-
public hearing. to
no,
the
I'm
next-
not. I'm not voting tonight. How about you, Ed?
Well, I would move to continue the public hearing.
But you're going to be continuing the public hearing without actually opening it tonight.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I guess
No.
So, okay, I'll second this. So let me just recap my understanding. So in terms of the public hearing, we are suspending the start of the public hearing until next time.
we're continuing the public hearing tonight.
Continuing,
Right.
but we're not going to have any public hearing tonight,
Right.
correct?
Correct.
Okay, got it. And then, of course, we're going to expect Ralph to come in and say he withdraws the original application and submit essentially a new application sometime. So
Right.
is that correct?
Probably looks a lot like this with the cover sheet on.
I'm sure it's going to look a lot like that, yes, with the cover sheets. Okay, so I move to do just that. Continue the public hearing until next time.
I will second that.
You're seconding it. Somebody already made that motion, so you're seconding it.
I'm seconding it. Okay, I guess I'm seconding.
Okay. I'm happy with this. And
This is democracy at work.
Yes.
That's right.
What it looks
This
like.
is a working session, but anyway, so I'm in favor of that motion to continue to next time. Continue the public hearing. Nina?
I'm not happy with it, but I'll approve it.
Okay. Scott?
Yes, a speedy approval.
Okay. Ed?
Yes.
And Larry?
Approve.
Okay. And Larry, you get to go to your meeting and it's still 1-0. So,
Okay.
So I just want to be, clear. I know we, theoretically we could wind up with 2 applications. And so, I mean, I think there's an understanding about what the process is going to be. But I think it's important to know that if we receive a new application, it's because the previous one has been withdrawn. Is that I think,
Are you making an
presumably
assumption?
have a letter of withdrawing attached.
yeah, well, I'm just,
What's that? What are you guys, are you going to send us a letter along with the cover letter on this proposal along with a withdrawal of the other one? Is that what I'm expecting?
What I would like to do is just convene our team one more time to make sure that we don't want to submit a revised plan, but that we want to withdraw the existing and submit a new plan. I think that's where we're headed, but I just want to make sure we have all the ducks in the row and if that's the right
Yeah.
is.
And when you say your team, you mean people that are not on screen right now?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And just make sure that we're all set, that's the correct way of moving forward.
Okay.
I believe it is. I believe so. You will either have, what you most likely will have is a letter withdrawing the existing application and a new application from Steve. That'll be minimal, but enough to get us in front of the board to have a discussion with you and with the town attorney. The alternative could be a revised application, but I agree. I tend to agree with Warner. The changes are so significant that it doesn't make sense. We're going to need new stormwater reports. We're going to need new peer review by engineers. It's a whole new plan.
Mr. Chairman, there are a couple of things in the chat that I think have been answered, but you might want to take a look at those.
But I don't know what you're talking about. So
It's Andre Duchette, Esquire, Counsel for 57 Dyke Road. I presume you will simply hold another public hearing. Just continue it. If withdrawn, there will be a new public hearing on the new application. I think that we did address that.
that is
And
correct.
Corby has said, how can you have two open applications for the same project? And I think we've addressed
We would
that.
not.
Right.
Point of order, Tom. I thought that this discussion was open only to the panelists.
Yeah.
It is.
What are we doing here? Do we have a side
good
door open?
I apologize. I shouldn't have added those in.
No. I don't think those the chat capability should be active.
That's right.
Well said.
Davey, you want
I
to run?
won't Zoom all day long. I look at that.
Yeah.
No, it's a good point. As far as the tech is concerned, but I do think it's important for folks to hear that that if the applicant chooses to continue with the plan that has currently been filed, that there will be public opportunity to discuss this. There will be public opportunity to discuss this either way, regardless of whether it's the application in its current form or whether it is a new application. That there will be public comment taken for both of those.
Thank you.
Okay. So I guess we're done. You guys are going to go and check this out with the one request I have for the future. When we have a public hearing on the next iteration, could you please be sure that somebody from KRC actually comes to it?
Yeah,
Thank
we've
you.
agreed to that. We've agreed to that.
Okay.
There's no problem with that.
Yeah, good. Because we did have one case where you guys were trying to guess what they would say and feel that. So, okay.
Justin Grimes is the general manager of KRC Properties will be present.
Okay, good. Very good. Okay, well, I guess that finishes our meeting. So could I have a motion?
I thought we were having a technical discussion tonight to understand the package that we got in the mail. Did I miss that point? Did I miss that part?
What package?
The sketch plan.
Oh, that's not on the agenda for this.
Oh, I see. Okay, I missed that.
Yeah, no, the idea was that we would have a chance to digest it more and also to come up with additional questions to Amy, and Amy can show up at the next meeting, which would be, I guess, the 17th.
So
I think
you're saying that we need to form our questions to Amy without the benefit of having the presentation?
no,
Yes.
Go, Warner.
No, I was. Sorry, I thought Ed was making reference to a sketch plan that you all had received in the mail for a different property.
No.
That's not yet on the agenda. That'll be for a future meeting. So apologies. I was jumping to a conclusion.
We got an email from the town office, from Steve through the town office, that described some major changes to the concept for Ocean Woods, right? It had a big circle around one area and what we were going to do in different number of cottages and so on and so forth. And then I got, at the post office, I got a paper copy of that. At what point are we going to have a presentation of that? And I thought we were going to have a sketch plan like review of that new concept before you decided to come forward with a modified or a brand new application. When is that on the agenda?
So that happens in the context of an application. So when we did, so the colony is a good example of where we did a similar process that, they brought forward a sketch plan for their project. And that was done in the context of an application. This is a bit different because you've got you have a project that's been in review in one concept that is, significantly changing. And so I think procedurally, we're going to look, it gets called a new application, but for all practical purposes, it is exactly that, Ed. It's it's a discussion of the sketch plan.
Of a new app in the form of a new application. So there's no discussion about in the letter. It said, and I think appropriately so, there probably should be some talk about whether or not, how this material fits in with the legal aspects of what we've been talking about.
No, because that's the question I posed at the beginning. Are we going to cover both applications because one is pending and one isn't submitted yet? And the legal questions that have come up that we have to discuss. If we were going forward with the old application, we could discuss them. But because you haven't got a new application submitted yet and a presentation, you cannot really discuss the legal ramifications.
But the old application is still before us. It has not been withdrawn. I thought that was the mechanism that allowed us to have the discussion of the material that I got in the mail yesterday or the day before.
I think it will. I think if it plays out the way we have it outlined, it will.
No, I meant tonight, George.
Yeah,
no, not tonight.
No, because we're in the middle of a public hearing. We're in the middle of a public hearing.
Because it's changed in response to a legal document, and they've changed the plan. And if you start discussing the old plan, it won't have any meaning until you have a new application before you. You cannot discuss the new application, the new sketch plan, without it being an application submitted to you.
The way we've seen it, I think, before in front of the board is we have a public hearing. There are questions that are raised. We continue the public hearing, and those questions are addressed. We get a little presentation, then we go back into the public hearing. This is such a substantially different change that it wasn't like it was addressing a few things that had come up. It was addressing some major issues that had come up. So it's really a different application. I don't see how we could treat it differently.
When we did the colony, okay, that sketch plan was just a presentation. That was done before they actually prepared the first application. So it really isn't quite the same.
Yeah, I mean, although technically you had for administrative purposes, we had a application that was filed with us. We had a sheet that came in that, I think, in a similar fashion to what you just suggested to Steve, you have a cover letter with the application and the property information. That's how the colony app came in, whenever we did that. So I think what we're saying and what I'm hearing is that it's similar in that regard.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Chairman, I have to leave. This is a lot of fun. I hate to miss the fun.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you.
So I'll put it back on the applicant. What was it you were asking of the board tonight?
It was twofold. One, we didn't think it made sense to go ahead with the public hearing, and we wanted it either closed or continued or whatever, and that happened.
Okay.
The second goal, we wanted the board to have a chance to see the plan, which you have, obviously. Steve mailed it to you. It would have been nice to have a little discussion of it tonight. I understand that it can't be a substantive review, and we recognize that. If the board feels uncomfortable having a discussion without an application, that's fine too. You have the plan, you see what the proposal is. And if you don't want to discuss any aspects of it tonight, we'll do it on the 17th. But I think it would be important to have the town attorney on the 17th because it's important to the applicant to know what guidance the town attorney will give the board in regard to this new proposal so we know whether we can go forward with it or not.
It sounds like the town attorney is not prepared to review this until the board asks her to, and the board hasn't seen it or had an opportunity to have a presentation on it yet. So I don't see how that's going to happen, Ralph.
She was prepared to come on November 3rd, as I understand it, if the board was going to hear this on the 3rd. It's pushing it to the 17th. But
In other words, in real time.
She's seen the application.
Correct.
She's seen the new sketch plan.
Yeah,
We haven't given her any questions to consider. So she would take those in real time, I guess. Is that what we're proposing? I guess I'm put off by this. I think the board should be responsive to an applicant coming informally and presenting the concept that they may or may not move forward with, depending on what the board thinks. And we're saying, no, instead you have to go formally apply, and then we'll tell you what we think. I think that's wrong.
No, I don't agree with that at all. I've seen some sidelines on boards and stuff with where applications are in suspension, and I don't like it at all. I'd rather follow some very strict procedure when it comes to the planning board. I think that's asking for trouble.
So I think where we are is that you guys down at the Steve and Ralph are going to go back, talk to KRA and others about this, and post haste come back with a letter which withdraws the previous application and substitutes this new cover, this new sketch plan kind of thing. And then when we reconvene on the 3rd of the 3rd of November, then by then you will have applied for the new thing, and we can, if need be, we can officially close the public hearing on the old application, since it will be moot. Did I say that right?
Correct.
Will new notifications go out to abutters?
No, I'll speak once.
yes, we would do that in the context of a new application.
Yep.
So we have enough time for that to happen for the 3rd of November meeting, Tom.
Oh,
No, we won't be heard
For
until
the
the
17th.
No, yeah, third doesn't give us enough. That doesn't give us enough time.
The public hearing will be closed on November 3rd after the application has been formally withdrawn. New application will have been submitted, and it will be presented on November 17th, hopefully with Amy in attendance. Whereupon, if questions come up, if Amy cannot answer them during the presentation, she can take them back, review them, and give us answers just before the public hearing and the meeting after that.
Well, there wouldn't be a public hearing the meeting after that, because we wouldn't be declaring this new application complete.
Well, if we did declare it complete.
Yeah, it'll just be a sketch plan, so you won't have everything you need.
Okay. Okay, so that gives time to ask Amy questions of the sketch plan and for her to come back to us.
Right, and on the 17th, we will continue the initial presentation to a later time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, okay.
So before we go on though, so we could still have a review of the sketch plan on November 3rd and then a review of the
We don't have the sketch plan.
Just a
on November
presentation?
3rd.
Okay, all right. Okay.
The only way we'd have it on November 3rd is if they had officially sent this to us on October, if this October 12th memo had come to us officially on October 12th as a new plan, which it didn't. Because
Okay.
October, looking at, again, at that nice email from April that tells you when things can be submitted. All right, so I think we're done, folks. And clearly we're not all happy, but that's, so I guess
You want a motion to adjourn?
I will entertain a motion to adjourn, yes.
Oh, okay, there it is.
Second.
Okay. Approved.
All approved.
Okay.
Approved.
All approved. So we are adjourning, and we'll see you guys. We'll see you, Steve, next time. We'll see you and Ralph the following time.
Yep.
When you can also be presenting us other goodies from ARC.
Yep.
All right. Have a good evening.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
All right.
Good
Good evening.
Bye.
Bye.